Better believe it.
And he better have his capology issues straightened away too, because that's where we're turning, because that's part of the deal here with this new collective bargaining agreement that has been agreed upon by the league and the players union, a new tentative 7-year CBA. So Geltzy, of all the topics involved in this negotiation and in this deal, which is the one that stands out the most to you?
Well, let me start with this, Kimmer. As far as the Dak Romo argument goes, I'm on Alexa's side.
Yes.
So,
All
all right. So I got to let you know that up front.
Okay.
When it comes to this CBA is not all that different from the last CBA. The basketball-related income split is the same. And listen, there's so much money in the system right now. Everybody's going to get paid really, really well. The one thing that is different is this designated veteran player clause that's going to be in the CBA, where the contract extension rules that were there really prohibited teams from being able to extend their own star player for the max salary before he went to free agency. That will no longer exist. There's certain qualifications and criteria, which aren't clear exactly what they are yet, but all NBA teams, most valuable players, defensive player of the year, some of those are going to be rolled into the mix. If a player is qualified through that, they can be this designated veteran player, which essentially means that a team can pay their own player up to 35% of the salary cap in the first year of an extension, whether they have the cap room or not. So it's going to make it a lot easier for the Oklahoma Cities of the world to keep their Russell Westbrooks. Here's the thing. You can't legislate against somebody wanting to take less to go somewhere else. But you can create a system where there's a lot more incentive to stay with their incumbent team. And that's the one big difference in this CBA from the last one. Teams are going to have much more of an ability to hold on to their star by paying them a whole lot of money and not having to have the cap space to be able to do that. They can go over the cap to do that.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier about it. The rich stay richer, and if you're trying to build a super team, if all of a sudden the Utah Jazz, or maybe not the Jazz is a good example, but a lesser team decides, all right, we're just going to pull our money together, we're going to go for it. Well, they can't do it anymore, or it's going to be much more difficult to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Much harder to do, but that's the way the league wants it, Michael.
Right.
The league doesn't want what happened this past offseason with Durant. The owners don't like that.
Right.
There's two reasons that was able to happen. Number one, the Players Association resisted cap smoothing. And in the end, as far from a financial standpoint, they were absolutely correct. Because you look at some of the contracts that got thrown around last summer, if there was a cap smoothing program, it would have been difficult to get those contracts. And it certainly has escalated the value of salaries, as opposed to they did cap smoothing and money would have been paid out through escrow. So that, and the other thing was Steph Curry's ridiculously cheap contract allowed them to have the room for Kevin Durant. You're not going to see much of that anymore at all, unless a guy really wants to take a lot less money. And that's a good thing. The big deal in the last CBA was all about competitive balance. It was all about players not being able to force their way out of a location. And some of that backfired when you see LeBron leave Miami and Miami ends up with nothing. When you see Kevin Durant leave Oklahoma City and Oklahoma City ends up with nothing. It's going to be a lot harder for that to happen. And here's the other thing. With this designated veteran player situation, if a guy does want to leave, he can force his way to another team, and then that team will be able to make him the designated veteran player, and the incumbent team that's losing their player will be able to bring in some assets to at least have a springboard towards a rebuild if you're going to lose your star, as opposed to just getting left holding the bag like what happened with Miami and Oklahoma City over the course of the last couple of years.
Geltzy, we know your football opinions are absolutely correct. Let me get your opinion on what you think of Adam Silver's first CBA negotiation and how he was able to do. If you get out your red felt tip pen, what kind of a grade would you give him?
Alexa, A+. Because you know what? Here's the important aspect in this. There is so much money that has come into the system with this new TV deal. All the fans know it. It's been spread all over the internet, all over newspapers. Everywhere you look, everybody's talking about all the money in the NBA. You are going to sit and fight over money with your players, and from a PR standpoint, it would be an absolute disaster. Here's the thing. The NFL's lost some ground to the NBA over the course of the last couple of years. We had a Game 7 of the NBA Finals that ended up doing a Super Bowl type of rating. Not a great Super Bowl rating, but a Super Bowl type of rating on a Sunday night. The NBA is coming more into the sporting public's consciousness more than ever. Last November, the biggest story in all of sports was the Golden State Warriors. So many casual fans used to not pay attention to the NBA till Christmas. It's changed. So the NBA is making a lot of inroads for that entertainment dollar. At this point, any kind of not even only a labor stoppage, any kind of threat of a labor stoppage would be a major, major turnoff to an audience that they're just gaining momentum with. So from that standpoint, I think Adam Silver did a fantastic job where there was a lot of nasty rhetoric when Michelle Roberts first took the job as the head of the Players Association. Silver was able to bridge that gap and give Roberts a lot of credit as well because she understood what was good for her players, what worked. And in the end, the players had their one blood issue at the end, which was licensing and player likeness. And they ended up gaining some inroads financially there as well, where the owners gave to make sure that they made this deal. So all in all, Adam Silver got both sides together, negotiated on behalf of the owners. Everybody's got a deal in place. And our fans, more important than anything else, our fans don't have to be bothered with this threat of a labor stoppage and know that they may lose their beloved sport for a period of time. And I think that's the most important thing. This labor stuff needs to not be something that spills over and burdens your fans and burdens your customers. Adam Silver ensured that that would not happen. A+ as far as I'm concerned.
And by the way, you mentioned Michelle Roberts. Let's not underestimate not only her ability to get a consensus from the players there and lead that charge behind closed doors, but even right now, she's allowing everyone else to kind of take credit for all the things that are happening and all the good things that have happened here for this league. And you don't hear her, beating her chest talking about how she was the reason why this deal got done. So kudos and huge credit to Michelle Roberts for what she's been able to do.
And Michael, very different than Billy Hunter, by the way.
Yes.
Very different.
Yes. I want to get your reaction, though, to this. Not everybody's pleased. Draymond Green apparently went to Twitter and he reacted. He didn't like this deal, apparently. That's a heartbreaker, he said. Stand for something or fall for anything, and one day we will get it right, maybe. Those were among the tweets that he sent out. What's his issue?
I'm yawning at this because you know what, Draymond Green, not everybody needs your opinion on every single topic. And a lot of people on that executive committee, Chris Paul, LeBron James, Carmelo Anthony, to name a couple, work pretty hard to work and get this deal done for the players. And here's the thing that bothers me about Draymond. What the Players Association and the lead guys in the Players Association here are some of the biggest stars in the league, stars of superstars. They made sure that there's a deal in place that still benefits the middle class of player more than anything else. Listen, they could have certainly pushed for a deal. They may have not got approved by the constituency, but they could have pushed for a deal where a star can get 50% of the salary cap. It's not above 35%. This is a deal that's good for the group. And although Draymond Green thinks he may know what's good for the group, the reality is he's too much of a loose cannon to be able to sit down in these kind of negotiations and meet in the middle with owners the way these other guys did. I think this is empty of Draymond Green. I think it's hollow. I think it's disrespectful to the guys that did the work. And really, it's part and parcel for who Draymond Green thinks he is and who he's become, which is that somehow, some way, he's above rules. He's above what anybody else needs to do. And from his standpoint, he can judge anything he wants because somehow, some way, he's become this ultimate authority on anything involving NBA basketball. And to me, I'm over it. I'm over Draymond. And you know what, Draymond? Don't worry so much about this CBA, which, by the way, you're getting paid $17 million a year to play basketball here for a 5-year period. And at the end of this contract, there'll be another big one in there for you. Worry about not kicking your feet up to potentially hurt other players and hurt your team in big spots, because that's what he doesn't want to worry about. So with Draymond Green, from this standpoint, it's hollow, it's nonsense, it's disrespectful, and I've had enough of what Draymond Green has to say.